why the great age of Athens is considered to be one of the most brilliant moments in human history.
Les hommes et les femmes, comme on appelle les droits de
columns have no base, you can see, whereas the Ionic columns of the Erected are more elegant with the scrolls on top. And
The best place for photographers and the best view of the city is where the flag is. Did you see the flag?
Let's say we came here because I was interested in looking at this wonderful, let's say, Acropolis. I think it's part of everybody's history in some way.
Well, it's the basis of all democracy, isn't it? It started here.
It all comes back to roots.
Burnell claimed that during the last 200 years, scholars rewrote the history books, denying that ancient Greece had roots in Africa and Asia. The myth they created of a pure white, unsullied dawn of Western civilization was a result of both anti-Semitism and racism.
I think that if people take Black Athena seriously, then they do have to look at our early European early history in a different way.
Ratatouille, pourquoi you cat your plug, manipulated, mur de ring, rapping, child molester little patch of 1500 years, coward pretending to be brave, only ficting when the open is basically no match. Mur de ring women and children, with your rastrator league buffalo soldier in the front line, petit coward blanche, nique ta mère PD.
Because always implicit and sometimes explicit in our view of history is that democracy and science and philosophy are exclusively European possessions, and that although peoples from other continents can learn them through Europe and European culture. they are essentially at home only in Europe.
For Martin Burnell, attempting to knock Greece from the white pedestal of Western civilization is a huge undertaking. He started Volume 1 of Black Athena 12 years ago and has had to face the big guns of the academic profession.
I don't know to what extent scholars today are still motivated by these, objectionable attitudes of anti-Semitism, racism, whatever it might be. I should think very few are. But they have been in the past to some degree, no doubt, but on the whole these are not the scholars who have been influential in our understanding of the way things actually work. I don't think it's played a part at all, frankly.
Of course, there are many classicists who object to what I'm saying. Some quite emotionally. A friend of mine tried to persuade a friend of his to buy a copy of the book. In Heffer's, the main bookshop here. And as he was talking about the book, the shop assistant said, "Would you mind speaking up? I hear so many people muttering as they look at that book."
Now look at that fucking head. Don't you want to dig him up, punch his head in, and put him back, until your next celebration, and he's still pretending to be the first to write about this? There were white radical authors, mentioned in the lectures of his teachers, as so they should be. This cunt doesn't even mention his own folk. Mutana, continue. This face is making me 4 years older, by just looking at it.
So that clearly there is opposition. On the other hand, there's been very little hostile criticism in print.
The Western civilization theory is not true, and that's disappointing in a sense that you lose your trust. So you don't trust anymore. You explore, you research, you learn to come to your own conclusions.
Living in America, we're brought up in the European way, and it's time we learned our own history to let us know that we do have one and something to be very proud of. And coming here, I'm very proud to be an African.
Understand what happened in Greece in terms of this unusual rise and unusual development, which happened so rapidly it appears to be unique and appears to be a miracle, but there's no miracle. The miracle was the relationship of Greece to Africa.
But we have to go beyond Burnell. See, whiteness limitates you. It limits you even when you get into something serious like this. And let's deal with that. Burnell tapped into African understanding and knowledge, the Southern cradle understanding and knowledge, and so he was able to break out of his mold of European ethnocentrism. But the value system of the rightness of whiteness still impacts upon him. So he cannot make a clear statement that the Africans of the Nile were African. He's still holding on to that maybe they was kind of brown and mixed. You see, and when you get into that mixture, mixed with what? If you mix anything with African, you're in trouble. You see, because African genes are dominant genes. European genes are recessive genes. So any mixture is going to move toward Africa.